Hello and welcome to the Hanging with the Howards. I am Brian,
And I'm Tish.
and we just want to welcome you to this very first pilot episode of our podcast. Again, I am Brian, and this is Tish, and we're just going to start out by kind of introducing ourselves a little bit and what we do. So, Tish, why don't you tell us what you do for a career?
Well, first of all, before I get into that, I just want you all to know that this, like you said, is our pilot episode. So please be patient with us. We have a lot of learning to do, but we really wanted to get out and be able to, help people and just to encourage people. So just be patient with us. It'll get better, but yeah. So just want you to just be patient with us. This is our first one. Okay. So, like he said, my name is Tish, and I am a mom of two and about to be a Gigi
Oh my goodness!
next month. So, as far as my career, I'm in the healthcare field. I've been a physical therapist assistant for almost 30 years, and I've been in management for about 20 of those as a director. Um, So I really enjoy what I do. I've worked with the elderly my whole career. I enjoy helping others, especially the elderly, and I just enjoy my career. I love what I do. As far as hobbies that I may have, I enjoy spending time with my family. I enjoy reading and writing when I have time, and I also enjoy watching sappy Hallmark movies. So
Don't forget court shows.
yes, yes. Divorce Court is my favorite. However, I
We
only
planning
watch
on divorcing me
I
already, huh?
only watch Divorce Court just to get tips on how to keep a good marriage. So yeah, that's the only reason. So now Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am working in the athletic field at a collegiate institution, Division One, HBCU. I've worked in HBCUs for the last 13, 14 years. I think that HBCUs are incredibly valuable, often underfunded, and so I feel like God is calling me to work at an HBCU. Um, uh, being in collegiate athletics, obviously, in this day and age, there's the whole name, image, and likeness. So, shout out to anybody out there wanting to sponsor us, by the way. Shout out. Name, image, and likeness, hanging with the Howards. Uh, Career, or, I can't help it. I can't. Hobby wise, I love anything outdoors. Um, you know, while I am in athletics, anything outdoors is great to me. Anything in the sun would be even great. But I love music. I love movies. I am a huge fan of the World Wrestling Entertainment. That's
Right.
WWE. So Roman Reigns, if you're watching, acknowledge me. Um, once again, but obviously those are some of my hobbies and everything. And again, we just welcome you that are watching this podcast. That our avenue is a little bit of unlikeness, I guess you could say, for the fact that you know we're here and we're doing this podcast. An idea that my wife brought up, and to this day, I still think that it's the most craziest idea ever, but
We're
nah,
gonna roll with it.
we just gonna
We're
keep
gonna
rolling.
roll with it.
But Tish, let me ask you this: what is really the purpose of this podcast?
Well, the purpose of this podcast is really we really just want to tell our story. A lot of you have kind of seen some of our story just through social media. We have the selfie king over here. So, like everything that we do, we just love taking pictures and we love sharing our story. We have a very unconventional, unusual story. And it's almost like to me, now, it's almost kind of like one of those fairy tale things that you only see in the movies, for me. So we really want to just encourage people, we found love at this, stage in our lives, and we want people to, regardless of whether it's relationships or a job or whatever you've been praying for, seeking for. We just want to encourage you and to let you know that, it's not too late. Don't give up. And if you be patient and trust the process, it will definitely be worth the wait. That's kind of going to be our motto throughout our podcast. It's worth the wait because, I feel like we waited for each other. You know, um, we didn't settle. We could have easily settled. But we didn't settle. We waited. We were patient. Until God put us together. So that's kind of the purpose, of this podcast. It's just to kind of share our story and to let people know that it's not too late. Just hold on, just keep the faith, and it'll definitely be worth it in the end.
Well, I think personally, I think what you just said, obviously, about not just worth the wait, but sharing our particular story. I mean, the amount of people that ask and see the love on social media. Well, hey, how did you two meet? And what is your story? And so this podcast gives that, not just that story, but shares other visions. And our goal really is to help those, whether it's a career wise or relationships, and keeping in faith. I think one of the things that's been so beneficial to us is, and I hear people talk about it all the time, but keeping God centered in the marriage. I think that that's the most important thing. And for us, that's obviously what has happened.
And we're not gonna have make this like a religious show by any means, but you will hear us talk a lot, about our faith because it's basically what brought us together. And it's what keeps us grounded and keeps us motivated, keeps us going. So you will hear us talk a lot about that because that's a part of who we are.
That's a
You know,
hundred. That's 100% who we are. So, I'm going to delve into how we met. And by the stroke of God, I give all credit to God. By the way, so I was on an app on Facebook dating, and I'll share a little bit about my dating experiences later on a little bit, but I was on Facebook dating, and matter of fact, Tisha's profile came up a couple times. And I kind of skipped by it or whatever. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but like I was woken up at 3 a.m. by my neighbors, making loud noise, partying, everything. And so when I got up, I put up, I opened up Facebook dating, and her profile came up again. And for me, she lived 2.5 hours away. I personally didn't think this woman was any remotely interested. But what I did was, and I think that this is something that guys don't do enough of. If they're interested in somebody, like I'm gonna go ahead and shoot my shot, but I'm not gonna shoot it the way that anybody else would think that I would. So she lived in a town that I used to live in. And so basically, like my first message to her was, "Hey, I used to live in that town. I hope you're doing good." I honestly didn't think she was going to respond back, but again, God is the one that was in full control, and luckily she did, respond back.
in the meantime, so my daughter had gone out of town with one of her cousins, and I was actually awake that time of night. I'm normally not. It was a work day. I had to get up early the next morning, but I just had this anxiety, really just I guess waiting for her to come home, but also as far as the dating aspect, I had this anxiety for like a couple of months. Going back a couple of months, like probably back in June.
Wow.
No, June, maybe mid June to late July. I'll never forget that I texted one of my friends and I told her, I don't know what's going on, but I have this strong urge to try online dating. And so I've never thought about online dating, never even been interested in it, but all of a sudden it's like I had this strong urge to try it. So I didn't know any of the apps or anything. So my daughter give me some pointers and stuff. And I tried a few, but like he said, like the guys that were reaching out, it was like so cliche, it's just like speaking in abbreviations that I had no idea what it even meant. So like how can I even respond to something I didn't even know what it meant? Um, so I had just become frustrated at that point. And so by the time we met, I was very close to giving it up, just getting off everything, just saying forget it, But I still had this anxiety, like something is gonna happen, something is gonna happen. And so, like you said, 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm waiting for my daughter to come home. And I just happened to turn over. And should I tell the whole story?
You might as well. I mean, you talk. Hey, you're
Okay.
letting them know all the tea.
Well, Anyway, so I'm just gonna be honest. So I turned over, and here was this guy, Facebook dating, named Brian, right? So I looked at the phone. Now I only had rules, two rules for online dating. Okay. First rule was I wanted to date someone closer, because I like to, do things together, whether it's watch movies, go out to eat, or whatever. So I wanted someone closer. That was rule number one. Rule number two, no white guys. Okay.
Guess what? I'm
Sorry.
white.
Sorry. That was rule number two. Okay. Because I've never dated, outside my race or anything. So I really didn't, I don't have anything against, I didn't have anything against white guys. It was my comfort zone. I put it like that. I wanted to kind of stay in my little bubble, stay in my comfort zone. Like, okay, so close distance, no white guys. Those are my only two rules, right? So my phone goes off. I look at this message at 3 o'clock in the morning. Here's this white guy. I looked at it. I put my phone on. I was like, nope, nope. And I could not rest. I'm telling you, I could not rest until I picked my phone back up. So I went through the profile a little bit. I was like, yeah, okay, nah, good. Still couldn't rest. Okay, so this is how God works. Okay, I'm telling you. So by the third time, I said fine. So I picked my phone back up and I sent him. I responded back to his message, and we've never left each other since. So I just feel like, I just had to be obedient at that time because I could have easily said, no way. I said, no white guys, I'm not going to do it. Forget it. No. But I had to listen, and my spirit was telling me, you got to pick this phone up. Pick this phone up. And so when I did, that started it all. So, yeah.
Well, I think that both of us kind of being outside of our particular comfort zone. Like I'll shed a little bit on my particular dating experience was um I I was used to going on dates and seeing African American women, and so for me it was like no big deal. And I've worked at an HBCU, so clearly no big deal at all. And obviously with Tish it was a little bit a little bit different. But at the same time, I think it was healthy for us to both kind of step out of our particular comfort zones and allow us to enjoy each other's company. I mean, the minute she responded back to the text, we're texting literally all day that next day, and she had this rule that she wanted to talk on the phone or FaceTime, one or the other. And I kind of had a rule that I really not let anybody really know about, which was when I was seeing other people before I met Tish, was I didn't want to talk on the phone. I hate talking on the phone. I hated FaceTime. I just didn't want anything to do with any of those things. But I let that particular guard down to obviously want to want to FaceTime, want to have those conversations. I think we talked that first night for like 3-4 hours, maybe longer.
Yeah, FaceTime, yeah,
Um,
for that long.
and so for me, that was kind of a huge deal. But I saw how much I wanted to spend that time with her. And the funny part is, and I don't have a problem sharing this particular thing, but at the time when I sent that message, I was already seeing like 4 or 5 different women. Okay. And I know that's bad. I get it. I totally get it. But you know what was beneficial was this is the one right here. This is the one because at the end of the day, God pointed me to her. I give all glory and all credit to God for this particular person who not only has shaped me to be the person that I continue to want to be, but brings that calmness to me. And when you find that particular person, trust me, you don't want to let that person go.
And I will give a little dating tip. Now I'm gonna tell you what won me over with him. Okay, he wrote a incomplete sentences, a paragraph, telling me a little bit about himself and the connection with where I live. To me, everybody has have their preferences. Okay, to me, I'm a big punctuation English junkie. Okay. So like a lot of the guys that, were sending me messages, like I said, it was an abbreviation. Um, you know, just stuff like, hey queen and all this stuff, which, it was nice enough. However, when I saw that he wrote a paragraph, grammatically correct punctuation, paragraph, that kind of sealed it right there because nobody had ever done anything more than probably a sentence. Most guys were like 2 or 3 words. The abbreviations. I don't even know. I can't even think of something. I don't even work like
That
that.
would be
But
WYD. What
yeah,
you doing?
yeah, stuff
Right?
like that.
I don't even know.
I don't. People that I text, they already know. I text in complete sentences. I really do like abbreviations. So that's just that's just a thing for me. And he didn't know that, but that really meant a lot to me because it shows that he took the time, to actually tell me a little bit about himself, in a paragraph form. And I know that's nerdy. Yes, I'm a nerd. Okay, I'll admit it. I'm a nerd. However, that meant a lot to me that he took that much time out versus just saying like, "Hey," or "How are you doing?" Just like the one liners. I guess is what I should call it.
Well,
I think that's important. So, and that's a dating tip. If you're dating and you're serious about trying to meet this person and get to know this person, leave out the abbreviation. Leave out all that little one-liner stuff. Put some meat into your message that'll make that person, want to know more. So this we're not dating experts, relationship experts. I just know what worked for me. And that was a big turn off for me was these little one-liners that really didn't mean anything. And I'm pretty sure they sent that to 50 other people. So it really meant a lot to me that he took that time out to kind of explain, to talk a little bit more about himself and that. So,
well, I think it's important as we've gotten older and more mature and knowing exactly what we're looking for. The day and age for us, when we grew up, we really didn't have cell phones. And that shorthand, WYD, it really doesn't do anything. I understand why it's shorthand, but I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. Working in the education field, kids today, that's what they do. Shorthand, so they don't understand. You can't turn a paper in with WYD, right? It's what are you doing? Type thing. So for me, I felt the need and the urgency to go ahead and write If I'm interested in somebody, sure, I'm gonna write a paragraph introducing myself. Um, but seeing how much we had in common is one of the other factors of, hey, I want to get to know this person. I want to spend time. I want to go out to eat. And obviously, we got kind of a funny story about our first date that we'll share later
You
on
got
that.
to tell me back
Um,
in.
but in terms of things like that's how much I wanted to spend time with Tish. I mean, and to this day, it's still the same. She brought up the idea of this podcast, and I'm not gonna say I laughed at her, but I said, "All right, well, if you want to do the podcast, we can do it, but you're gonna have to do the work." And let me tell you, this woman put in the work to do it. So I give credit to her because not only does not only does she bring up great ideas, not only is she incredibly smart, she's incredibly gorgeous, and that's one of the reasons why I love being with him. Well, I said probably multiple reasons right there, but that's obviously why I love you, and then wanting to do this podcast and share this particular story and share like a little bit of our journey. Um, not just relationship wise, but we've been on some adventures. And some things that we've had to tackle, not just as a couple, but individual as well. So, I hope that you definitely can continue to tune into this podcast.
So that kind of sums up how we met.
Well, I will share this. The next podcast, which is episode 2. So we thank you obviously for tuning into episode 1, the pilot episode. And again, if you got any sponsorships, name, image, and likeness, I'm your guy. I wear Adidas, Nike, Under Armour. Look, any of you guys come calling, I'm your guy. But and so is Tish, of course. I mean, she's not a guy though. But the next episode 2, we will delve into first impressions, our first date, and how that kind of came about. Because that was rather quick. Um, so we hope that you continue to tune in and watch our wonderful podcast, Hanging with the Howards.
And we do welcome any comments, that you may have, any experiences that you may have as well. And, we'll be including those on some of our future episodes. Like I said, we just kind of want this just to be just a laid back, podcast, just kind of tell our story. But we also want you to share, some of your stories with us or like any questions that you may want us to answer. So we kind of want it to be, I guess, interactive is the word for it. So
I would definitely say interactive,
yeah,
the more that you guys can also add input, we're hoping down the road not just to share some of your comments and your feedback, but maybe even bring you on as a guest to share your ideas and your thoughts and everything. I know, like with my particular field, everybody wants me to talk about sports or the latest trends going on, and quite honestly, you know it's about NBA playoff time, and Caitlin Clark, and I think sports is especially women's sports is really taken off. So I'm enjoying watching that trend. Baseball season going on, hockey playoffs going on. So obviously, this podcast really isn't all about sports, but I'll touch on some from time to time. But like I said, your feedback would definitely be helpful. So we hope that you continue to tune in to our podcast, Hanging with the Howards, because after all, it is worth the wait.